exact same thing again. There's a sky tower. Clear sky. I'll try and zoom as far into it as I can without it being shaky, people. It's on a tripod, but what is that? Bloody missed it again.
It's a pity when they got something else subscribers from them. Should have run it through them to
I mean, it's massive. That is big. Because you look at it and away in the distance, and then you bring it to the fore and it's just going to disappear underneath the cloud. But that's big, and it's certainly bigger than it was the last time.
So, Dave, welcome to the Soundbringer Studios here in the Pyrenees. Today we're going to talk about some big changes on this planet.
Yeah.
Things that have happened recently. So we had some really big things happen recently in the world, and so tell us about how you came here and what you just found out about.
What's going on?
What's going on? Yeah, tell us about what's going on, really.
Okay, well, I'm here in the Pyrenees. Well, it began after a crazy dream about this thing, Nibiru, Planet X.
Okay.
And so many people talked about it. I heard that people came to the Pyrenees in 2012, and the crazy story was that they wanted to get on a spaceship, and that's what the media told us.
Yeah, I've had people, I know friends that have taken part actually in this thing. Yeah.
But, you know, being out here, I realise that most people I speak to tell me that they came out here because this thing was coming in. You know, it's been seen coming in, this, whatever it is, Nibiru, Nemesis.
Yeah.
This thing came in, lots of people talked about it. What was it? How soon would it be here? And as I'm understanding, people came here with the same idea as I put up in my new video about we should come up here and get seed banks together. We should come up here and make communities. We should come up here and
live together.
And live together, make
Share.
communities. Yeah, share and yeah.
So let's go back to how you came to have this dream, basically, and how it appeared to you. Your first impressions of this new coming. How did you see it? You talked about earlier. You mentioned to me there's like a wall coming to us, or a barrier, or something. How do you stand into this presence?
Well, I've written a book called Laughing Gas, and I had a crazy experience. I know. I mean, it all sounds so crazy, but I mean, it is such a crazy time, and in such a crazy times, we experience it as craziness. All around us is craziness. So it was especially crazy for me when I started getting this message coming in. And it drove me out to South America. I thought I was sick. I was like I was connected to the pain of the world. I couldn't escape from it. I was just distressed by it. And I wanted to ask the question, what the fuck is going on, to the gods of ayahuasca? Because that's the only place I'd ever really got an answer, truly, where I've really felt I'd communed with God. You know, and so I went back there, and I cured my knee years ago in South America.
Yeah, ayahuasca is powerful.
And so I went there and I asked what the fuck's going on? That was the question I put to the gods. Literally that question. I know it's a bit rude, no offence, you know what I mean? But it was just, that was the question I put. And the answer I got was, don't worry about your world. Unprecedented peace will now be waged upon your earth.
Wow.
And then it told me I was going to write a book, and it told me this whole journey, that it was my pain that brought me there, to that place. And it's as much... There's two sides to this. It's like a double-edged sword, and there's a very beautiful side to that pain. And that beautiful side of the pain is the actions that we take to combat that pain. Is our direction in life, is what gives us the harmony to ease that pain when we are connected to when we are connected to it. We have to change the way we live.
Stay connected together, connect together in different ways, and get out of this mental state we've been into for so many years. Through drugs, the population has been controlled through certain type of drugs, and probably we need to lay off these ones and go into another world of exploration.
Yeah, well, I
with some help of the ancients.
Well, I kind of after that experience in South America, I realised that if I was going to write, I had to really kind of like change my whole lifestyle. And I wrote for 6 years, and I learned the practice my father learned during that time. And he died earlier this year, but he was a channel. And he taught me the same technique, and I was able at certain times to open that door to get beautiful answers to these questions that I was putting.
That's a gift.
It was a beautiful experience, a beautiful time in my life. Writing Laughing Gas was probably the most beautiful experience I've ever had. And then I was answered lots of questions during that process, and one of the things that I was told was that we now approach a wall. But I wasn't told what that wall was.
Okay.
But it said you can throw everything you like at it, all your nuclear bombs, all your depleted uranium, all your hate, all your racism, all your sort of like, all your, you know, divide and conquer tactics, everything you've got to subvert this world, you can throw at this thing, but you will not take that past this wall. And so you know, the book begins with Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
Like, you know, no one shall pass through the hole of a needle. You know, only the righteous shall go, like in the Bibles.
Yeah,
it's reminiscent of a lot of religious things as well, I guess. This wall.
Yeah, but even in that, you know, there's so much. You know, I often hear that phrase. It's easier for a rich man. No, it's easier for
a rich man to enter the eye of the needle.
It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of the needle, is it, or something like that?
Camel's eye, that's it. Yeah.
Or then a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Kingdom of heaven.
But just by irony, you know, there's a perception in there, because when you think of the great Wailing Wall that went round Jerusalem. Okay, so there was. I seem to remember there was a great needle, and that needle had a tiny, like a great door, which was the needle, and it had a tiny door, and that tiny door was the eye of the needle.
That's it.
And to get a camel through the eye of the needle, through this door, the master would have to take its possessions off his back, and then it would drop down onto his knee.
Yes,
Camel.
that's it. Yeah.
Very easy to get a camel through the eye of a needle, actually. It's very easy. But the thing is that the camel has to carry his master's possessions across the desert. So it's like, take as much as you like. just remember, when you pass through, you can't take it with you.
Take it with you. Yeah. Use it while you're on this earth.
Make the most of everything now. You know what I mean? Because none of that shit you can take with you.
It's all tools. It's all tools to achieve a specific goal.
But the dream. Okay, I'm going to tell you the crazy dream.
Tell us about your dream.
The dream was I'd never understood what the wall was. I was just told that we approach this wall and that that's it, and we throw everything you like at it. Unprecedented peace is going to be waged on this earth, whether we like it or not. It's a wall. Never knew what the wall was. And then I got a message. My mother's also a channel, and she gave me a message about 4 years ago saying that I was going to get a message.
Okay, she warned you.
So she kind of told me or warned me. It wasn't so much as a warning. It was just like something's going to come your way. And it said I would have to act on it. I would not be able to think on it. I wouldn't be able to ask anyone else what to do. I would just have to act. And I would have to make decisions. And upon those decisions, the entire opportunity of my existence here on this plane balances on that. Is my chance to see who I am. Not what I want to be, not what I hope to be, not what I could be, not what I might be. But whatever I do and whatever I don't do, that is the imprint that will be left. Whether I procrastinate and hope that I might take action or do something, whatever I do, it has to live in a doing, not a wanting, not a hoping. So it was a really you can imagine, it was just like, oh my God, what is it going to be? You know what I mean? Oh, pressure! And so anyway, then I got this big gig at Glastonbury this year, doing this. And you're a sound man, so you'll appreciate this as well. Doing this. Glastonbury once as well. So. Well, doing this gig in Shangri-La, doing this venue called the House of Commons, which was all about the House of Lords ruling over the House of Commons via secrets of a sexual nature. The House of Commons.
Come on.
And just before I did this, everything was looking really, really cool, and it was all happy. And it's going to be Dave's perfect hour, and it was all going to be great. And I'm a satirical politician in England, I suppose, and with my birthday party and all the rest of it. And then I have this dream, and it blows everything apart. And in this dream, I'm being chased. I lived on this site just outside of Glastonbury. I had my caravan on this site just out of Glastonbury. Perfect. I've been writing there for the last 4 years. Okay. I'm being chased down this grass track behind where I used to live in Glastonbury, and I'm running as fast as I can. It's pitch black.
Oh, sounds like a Hitchcock, yeah.
And I can see the outline of their faces, and they look terrifying. Oh. They look utterly terrifying. They look demonic, crazed, like they don't just want to kill me, they want to tear me into a million pieces. I was just like running, it was so real. It was so fantastically real. And then I see a friend of mine, a really, really good friend of mine who sells pizzas. And he does puppet shows, and he gets me into festivals, help me get into festivals selling books, as long as I need his bread for his pizzas and his puppet shows. Anyway, he turns up in my dream, and he always gives me an apron when I'm working, making these pizzas. He always gives me an apron, and he just turns up, and I'm like, God, what's going on? What's going on? And he said, Dave, take this, and he gives me this bundle. It's an apron. I just suddenly feel very relaxed wearing this apron, and I look at him, and you would have thought my biggest concern would have been the soldiers running after me with their crazed faces. But actually, I find myself asking him, what's going on? Why is the light gone out? Where's the sun? And he just looks at me with this expression that is just utterly quite grave, but quite like he wants to tell me something really quite like...
nothing important.
And he says... I said, what's going on? And he said, that. And he's just pointing up. And I look at where he's pointing, and as I look at his hands pointing up, I get shot straight out into space. And I'm looking at the Earth, and it's completely dark. I can see all the cities dotting across, but there's no light beyond the Earth. Like the other side of the Earth isn't being bathed in sunshine whilst I'm looking at one side, which is dark. And I'm like, where's the sun? And I just turn around to look at the sun, and as I do, it's just, you know, and I'm kind of a point of consciousness, I guess. I'm just a window on this whole thing. I just see this massive celestial object coming towards me at massive speed with a tail.
Wow.
Not like an asteroid.
Yeah.
Not like a comet.
Huge mass.
A planet. A full-sized, like absolute. I'm
You're
right
just
next
floating
to it.
here, and
I'm just, you know, I'm just like,
wow.
you know.
Wow,
And it was so crystal clear. Anything, you know, Hollywood movies, you name it, it just doesn't really touch on how graphic that was. You know, it was just absolutely pristine. And then it sails past me, and I'm just like, I can just feel this, like, ah! And I hear these words as I see it sailing towards the earth, and earth just being, it's just kind of, it's eclipsing the sun. It's blocking all the sunlight to earth. And I'm just mesmerised by this feeling. Just,
yeah, gripping to see like what's going on.
It was completely had me. And then I just heard the words, crystal clear, bellowed through me. This is what the fuss is all about.
Okay, that was the answer.
And then suddenly I see this crest of light appear on the left-hand side of Earth as I'm looking at it. And it just gets closer and closer, and this light just sweeps across the Earth. And then just suddenly Earth is completely bathed in light.
Okay.
And this thing carries on going without any impact.
Okay. It's a close call.
It's a close call,
Okay.
but no impact. And I just jumped up, and I went to this place that this kind of space that I opened, that my father taught me to open with writing, and I said, it misses, doesn't it? And the immediate answer I got was, yes, it misses. It's not your karma. And then it said, it is deemed you are not a race at war, you're a race subverted with war. And then it just told me this whole story of how we have such a high vibration. We have such a high vibration. We've worked so hard to overcome this that it can be corrected. It's all going to be all right. This thing has not come once before. It's not come twice before. It's come many times before. And the big worry is if it hits. And this thing doesn't hit. It's just going to go round and round. But it's going to bring change. It's going to bring big change. And change is happening all the time. For many people in the world right now, there's massive change. For us right here and now, there's change. There's always change. But it's a change that's going to help us cope with that, which is really trying to bring the vibration down. And that's going to come through change. Everything comes through change.
So it's going to help us. It's going to help us raise our energy. Whereas, like, let's say the media or the agenda would be to bring us in low vibration. This is going to help us raise our vibration even more and understand each other even more and work together even more. That's what you mean by that. It's no fear to be had in that event. It's something we should welcome.
Totally.
Is that your feeling? Yeah.
It's something we should
embrace.
That's the feeling I'm getting. I'm getting the feeling that we have got to think about the next 3,600 years.
Exactly.
What we do with this next age. You know, what we create here will be the beginning of this new age. And the first thing, if this thing does come, the first thing we're going to do is tell those in the future that this thing is coming, so they can prepare. And we can tell them you want to keep this vibration as high as you can, as you will not make it through. You will not get through. That will be the first message we leave. You know, our future generations, telling them, listen, this thing really does come around, and if you go below the radar, there has to be containment. There has to be containment. And actually, we've done so well, even with all this subversion that's going on. The actual vibration of Earth is actually higher than you can possibly believe. We are waging peace. We're all waging peace in our own little way. We all know what's going on. We all see it. None of us can really believe this thing Nibiru or anything. It's a completely different story to everything we've been told. It just seems that so many people have come before us and said, oh, Nibiru's coming, and then it didn't come in 2012, and the Mayan prophecies telling us, just like the Sanskrit prophecies, just like the biblical prophecies, just like the Mesopotamian prophecies that all told us this thing comes around. And in 2012 they came up here saying this thing was coming. Now we get the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the sinkholes, the raising of the sea temperature. 500 earthquakes in the last 2 weeks. You know, this thing is getting...
Well, 4th of August, we've got it back again. 5th of August. What's today's date? 5th of August. Same thing, 2 tails. Definitely not a plane. There's a sky tower. That's still there. The tails are facing up and down the way. So I mean that tells you it's not a plane. Look. Look. Here.
Oh aye.
Tell Hannah I'm recording. Sort of. There it's lost behind the cloud anyway. Exact same thing again. There's a sky tower, clear sky, I'll try and zoom as far into it as I can without it being shaky, people. It's on a tripod, but what is that? Bloody missed it again.
It's a pity you've got some of your subscribers from them. You should have run it through them 2017.
I mean, it's massive. That is big. Because you look at it and it's away in the distance, and then you bring it to the fore and it's just going to disappear underneath the cloud. But that's big, and it's certainly bigger than it was the last time.